All right, well, I'll start with an introduction. So hi everyone, I'm Kurt. I'm one of the co-founders at Rhinestone. We build infrastructure and tooling for modular smart accounts. And today I'm going to be talking about a new emerging thesis called the account-centric developer platform. I'm also going to be announcing some builder incentives, and so stay tuned for that at the end. But in order to get into this new account-centric developer platform thesis, I first need to define what is a modular smart account. So on the left here, we have a monolithic smart account where all the features are integrated into the account, and only the development of this account is closed in the sense that only one team can contribute to those features. So a great example of a monolithic account is the Coinbase Smart Wallet. And then on the right side, we have modular smart accounts. So modular smart accounts take this concept of a minimal kernel that stores state for the user, and also like a mapping function to these external smart contracts that we call modules, and they can extend the feature set of the account. And most major accounts today are modular. And so what do we mean by modules, or what can these modules actually do? So there are roughly four major types today. The first are validators, and validators are what determine what signatures are valid on the account, so essentially account authentication and authorization. The second is executors, and this allows developers to build custom execution logic on the account. The third are hooks, so these hooks can hook into this execution pre or post and enforce different conditions or constraints on that execution. And finally, we have fallbacks, which essentially is a way to future-proof the account and allow for new functions to be handled by that account. So in terms of some examples, the most simple example of a validator is passkeys, and that's become very common today. So essentially using the biometrics of your device to sign transactions on an account. But a more kind of, out there example, which Vitalik talks about a lot, is quantum safe signature validators. And so with modular accounts, when this becomes an important feature, this is something you will be able to add to the account to bring quantum safety. For executors, we have DeFi automation. So you can create the ability, for example, to have automated rebalancing between DeFi positions, DCA, TWAPs, etc. And there are many teams exploring this. A great example of a hook, which no team is working on, would be to have a ZK KYC hook, which can essentially provide some kind of civil resistance by only allowing certain executions on the account if you have the right ZK KYC credentials. And then the final one, fallback. So there is one concrete example, or there are a couple, but the one I'm going to refer to is the CalSwap fallback module that sits on the safe. And essentially this allows for off-chain signatures by making the safe ERC 1271 compliant. So this is an example of a fallback module. So there are many teams already unlocking innovation with modules, and these are just two examples that we have today. So on the left-hand side, we have Cluster, which was actually bought by Biconomy recently, but I was too lazy to update the slide. But for Cluster, they're building a cross-chain transaction orchestration protocol, if you want to call it that. I'm sure they have a better name. But the key component is this ITX module, or I think they're calling it super transactions now underneath Biconomy. But essentially, this module allows a user to sign the root of a Merkle tree, and the leaves of the Merkle tree are encode essentially instructions for transactions across multiple chains, networks, etc. And so this module is a linchpin component to enabling the Cluster protocol to orchestrate these transactions across multiple chains. And so the chain abstraction thesis is what they're going after there. The one on the right is Gnosis Pay, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but they require two modules for their protocol to work with the safe account. The first is the roles module, which allows the protocol to withdraw funds from the safe account when the user transacts with their Gnosis Pay card. And the second is actually a time lock module, and this is what ensures that the user is not able to double spend the protocol. So these are just two examples today. But you don't need to be a Solidity developer to tap into the power of modules. And there are these kind of building blocks that are being built by many teams in the space. Rhinestone is one of them. And the two I want to highlight today, the first is Smart Sessions, which Pedro mentioned, and we've been working super closely with WalletConnect and the Reown team on this. But essentially, this module allows for on-chain permissions to be created by the user and granted to a dApp or some off-chain service. And so this can be super powerful for just improving general UX, but it can also be great for things like I want to delegate to some external service that is doing some complex thing on my behalf. So maybe this could be like an AI agent that is investing on your behalf. The second is, and actually one thing to highlight is that at 11:30 we will be doing a workshop on Smart Sessions. So if you're keen, definitely come by and we'll get into the technical details on that. The second is resource locking, and this is a new module type that has started to take off. And essentially this allows users to make credible commitments that can be consumed by either an off-chain service or another on-chain protocol to allow for new products to kind of take place. So for example, this could be cross-chain intents, this could be new credit-based systems that are linked directly to the account, or it could be an off-chain order book. There are many different examples where resource locking is very powerful. So these are these are core components that are available to all developers through tools like the Module SDK and other developer frameworks that are out there. Cool. So essentially what these modules allow is for any developer to tap into the programmable account validation and execution of this smart account. And so this is what enables this account-centric developer thesis to start to play out. And so under a protocol-centric model, you have validation and execution logic that is tightly coupled with the settlement layer. In this account-centric model, you have the validation and execution logic becoming more tightly coupled with the account, and hence allowing the application developer to become truly protocol agnostic by building on this building on this account-centric platform. Cool. So this introduction of modular smart accounts is transforming the AA stack and essentially introducing this module layer where these composable components can be built that can extend the feature set of the account and natively bring more features or unlock new product experiences at the application layer. But no developer wants to build modules, build like an implementation of a module the same time or like repeated times for many different account vendors or account types. So we require some kind of interoperability layer that makes the smart account stack a unified, interoperable, and composable stack. And this is the role that Rhinestone plays. I won't get into the details of how we do this, but there are many different tools and services that we provide to unlock this experience for developers. And maybe just to make sure the point is hitting home here, with the prior two examples I talked about Cluster and Gnosis Pay. And so without this interoperability protocol, you have the example like Gnosis Pay, where essentially the protocol only works with the safe account because it is tightly coupled with these specific safe modules. And so this restricts the distribution that these developers can get through their protocol with all the different emerging account types. And so what Cluster has been doing is working closely with us and with Biconomy, of course, to adopt ERC 7579, to adopt the services and tooling that we're developing at Rhinestone to ensure that their protocol is can be maximally distributed across all these emergent account types, including EOAs with EIP 7702 coming early next year. Okay, and the final thing I want to say before we jump into the builder incentives is that smart contract development is like building hardware. So in this diagram here, you have in the center the software development cycles, which are fast and iterative. And on the outside, you have hardware, where essentially you need to have a ton of testing and security that is front-loaded before the product goes live, when it becomes immutable and essentially irreversible. And this is very similar to smart contract development. I would say smart contract development is much closer to hardware than software when it comes to these development cycles. But security audits are also super expensive. And so another thing that Rhinestone is doing outside of our tooling and infrastructure to enable teams to build these modules is also helping subsidize these security reviews. So we've been working super closely with the Key, Spearbit, and Renaissance on the audit of these like core modules that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to be spinning up a 500K audit fund for developers that are building monetizable applications where modules play like an integral role in unlocking that application, but also developers who are building public goods that can become core modules that are applicable to many different applications. So just as an example, it was just last week that I had a team reach out to me to say, well, we're building ZK technology that can extend smart sessions to enable private session keys. And so this is an amazing opportunity to get a core module out there that can be applicable to many different applications and help fuel the network effects around ERC 7579 and these modular smart accounts. Okay, so if you're interested in getting involved and you're keen to learn more, please scan this QR code, check out the Notion. There is a form there it's very simple, it's like 4 questions. Fill it in and yeah, we'd love to chat. Hear more about your idea, whether you're super early in like the design and planning, or whether you're a product who's further on in your development and thinking about how you can bridge to smart accounts through this like kind of module landscape. But that's it. Thanks for your time.